This episode is sponsored by Visit Frisco. All work and no play, not in Sports City, USA. Frisco might be known for its sports, but it's our array of out-of-left-field, totally unique attractions that really make our city a home run. So step up to the plate and have a ball in your own backyard with these suggested ways to play. The switch play. Take a long pass on weekend boredom and regroup for some one-on-one time over dinner with more than 400 restaurant options. The draw play. With everything from live theater and music to a nationally recognized public art collection, Frisco's draws are many. Frisco, the city that plays. Welcome to Season 3 of Hustle and Pro. I'm your host, Kelly Walker. Welcome, Malcolm Farmer, today. Hey, Malcolm.
Kelly, congratulations on 3 years.
Thanks.
That's no small doing. You know, you start something like this, you never know where it's going to go. 3 years is a heck of an accomplishment.
Thank you. It's fun and it's exciting. And I can't believe it's taken this long to get you in here one-on-one.
Well, that's because you've got such a long list of, celebrities you needed to, the true big hitters needed to come in before you'd get to, somebody like me. You know, I can only imagine. I'll probably be back in here. This is kind of just a, you just had to check the box, and we got this one done. Now we can go on to our true athletes and big hitters.
I probably asked for you right away, and I've been on your waiting list this whole time. Probably.
I doubt it.
For those who don't know Malcolm, you are the general manager and president of the Texas Legends. Last time I checked.
I am.
All right. And so for those who don't even know what that means, which if you listen to this podcast on a regular basis, you hear us talk about the Legends all the time. But the Texas Legends are the G League affiliate of the Dallas Mavs. Just watched a good Dallas Mavs win last night.
It was a heck of a game. Luka played very well. Yes.
Gotta love the Luka-Dirk handoff that happened here. All right. So I know that I had you on in 2020. You zoomed in with me to talk a little bit of MJ, The Last Dance.
I did.
What I want to talk to you about today is kind of a little bit more just about you. So I've crossed paths with you over the years with lots of Legends things, but I also don't know about your sports background. And obviously you're into basketball, but who do you love? Who's your favorite athlete? And is basketball your favorite sport?
Basketball is my favorite sport. Favorite athlete, you had me on for The Last Dance, and I don't know if you could grow up in the 80s and, somewhat in the 90s, but, when I grew up, Michael Jordan was the end-all, be-all of athletes in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so certainly, if I was to pick a favorite athlete, he would be it. But as you get into sports, there's a realization, and maybe it's just as you get older, that these are people. And, they have strengths and weaknesses just as anybody does. And they have concerns and life issues, things that come up just like anybody does. And so I really, as I've worked in sports more and more, my outlook isn't really that who's my favorite athlete. It's, just observing them doing what they're really good at, what they've trained to do. And at times, putting challenges in their own lives that we all experience. And sometimes I think we look at athletes and say, oh, they've got it made, it's perfect. And, they could be having a challenge and they're able to, put that aside and go out and perform, be it on the basketball court or on the soccer pitch or on the baseball diamond. They're able to go out there and do those things at a very high level.
Yeah.
And that's I respect that.
I could see that. Sometimes knowing more of the personal side of these athletes, especially with all the hands-on that you have with athletes, it makes what they're doing on the court different and more impressive. They might not be the best player on your roster, but because you know them personally and their background or their struggles or what they're overcoming, it just, you see them differently.
Yeah, I think that as a society, and this isn't necessarily a good thing, but sometimes we put athletes on a pedestal that we can look up to an athlete, but they're not a doctor, they're not curing cancer, they're not teaching our kids. And those things are frankly the things that should be put on a pedestal much more. But that's not to say that the athlete isn't somebody that we can look up to. It's just I think that we need to look up to them in the appropriate way of entertainment, and they're being a role model, hopefully, for our community, and that's really what I've enjoyed. I think that again, you grow up, you watch sports, you see the clips on the media, right? You see athletes, frankly, in their best light. And, I remember when we were doing The Last Dance, I quoted Dick Bennett. We were doing that episode. Dick Bennett coached at Wisconsin. And, we went to a Final Four, was very, very good. But the media saw Dick Bennett as one thing. And he was a great coach, had his system and away he went. The reality was, Dick Bennett had challenges and struggles. And, the quote that I used on that episode was, he was a coach in his heart and in his belly. Mm-hmm. But every time that at Wisconsin and when you're an athlete or a coach, you've got obligations to the media, to donors, to boosters, sponsors, season ticket holders, whatever it may be.
You pulled a lot of different ways.
And you pulled a lot of different directions. And his quote was, every time that I open the furnace door that's inside of me for coaching, and I open that furnace door and somebody takes a piece of that, i.e. I'm spending time on these other things, when I close the door, the furnace isn't as bright. It doesn't burn as hot. And I think that's something that we've got to keep in mind as we watch athletes. And hey, that sport is in all likelihood, it burns inside of them in a deep way, and respecting that, and not necessarily all the other things that come with the job.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, this is random, but I'm curious. Do you still play basketball?
I don't play basketball anymore. I'm a little too old.
When you're in the gym with all the people that are playing basketball, or when you're doing something, listening to music, what's on your playlist?
Oh, my playlist is very eclectic.
Same.
There's everything from country to classical to rap to rock to oldies. My playlist, it just depends on, frankly, what mood I'm in and frame of mind. So it's all over the map.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it was Brandon Fields who was in here once and told me about his Get Ready for Game Day song or something. And I added it to my playlist, and it's like one of my favorites now. So I always like to know what people are listening to. Okay, so what is your sports background for you? Like as a kid, did you play everything?
Oh, as a kid, I played, baseball, basketball, and then middle school, high school, I ran cross country, ran track, and played basketball. So it was, busy year round with sports. And, but knew in my heart of hearts that basketball was my passion. And I remember when I was a senior in high school, my goal, if I'm being candid, was to become a college basketball coach. Mm-hmm. And went in, when I graduated college, I went into, being a GA for a college basketball team, was a director of operations, assistant coach. And during those, 10-ish years of my life, I realized that, similar to Dick Bennett, it wasn't all just coaching. There was a lot of other things that went into this, good and bad, things that I enjoyed and things that I didn't. And, so while my goal when I was a senior in high school and even all through college may have been to, and the quote I would use is to have the corner office of a college basketball program, to be that head coach. Over time, that goal changed. It became... It's still something that certainly I watch games and I see what offenses are being run and defenses, and in the back of my mind, you can't help but think about what you would do during this timeout, and what substitutions and why you would make them. But there became things where I was like, you learn about a job, you learn about all the things that are outside of the things that the public may see, and I didn't really want to do all of those things. I didn't enjoy them. And so, the Legends opportunity came along, and I certainly wasn't the president or the general manager at that time. But
what did you start out of?
Basically a volunteer. I think my title was just basketball operations, which was a convenient way to say whatever the heck.
Get you in the door and help. And you guys are good at that, though, getting people in that just want to be in, and they stick around for a long time.
We have been. And, it's one of the things that I enjoy about the Legends is the chance to give somebody an opportunity. We've all heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And while I agree with that, I think that we need to, as sports and everybody, we need to give opportunities sometimes to people who may not have any connection, no personal connection. You don't know them,
Right.
but you
really
find out
wanna
what's
do
in
the
their
work.
heart
Yeah.
and what's in their passion, and you give them a chance. And usually that's in an entry-level position, in that kind of circumstance.
But people that really want to do the work will do the entry-level position or do the volunteer job or do the
Agreed.
internship and do the grunt work because
Agreed.
they want to be there.
And we want to give them, it gives them a chance to get to know people
Mm-hmm.
and build their network. And then whether they stay with the Legends or they go elsewhere, I'm good either way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to help. It's been very rewarding to see young folks, recent college grads come in who may not have direct experience in their industry, in this industry, but throw themselves into the work. And whether they're with the Legends 3-5 years later or they're, at Texas Tech or elsewhere.
Because their
That's
path will
great.
go wherever they need to go. I think it's so interesting when you talk about being in high school, having a goal of coaching in college. Whereas
Yeah, I was-
most kids are saying, I'm going to go play.
I wasn't good enough for any of that, and I knew it.
But you don't always know it. Like, there's a lot of kids around here that think they're going to go play, and they're not good enough.
I made the varsity in high school, but I barely played. And frankly, my high school coach knew that, I think even when I was on the JV, they would come over to me after practice and ask what I thought. How did it go? And, what should we look at for
There was always
tomorrow?
something there more than the player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, my high school coach gave me the opportunity directly after my senior year of high school to coach the high school summer team at varying levels. And that was, again, kind of scratch that itch and
Yeah.
begin to grow in that area.
Well, and I like that you talk about giving people a chance because you can't get experience in the thing you want to do till somebody gives you a chance to have experience in the thing you want to do.
Agreed. And actually that, something I've been thinking about the past few days, with COVID, we've got an entire, I don't want to say generation, but, internships for all these college students were nominal at best last summer, this past year. And as a person who does some hiring, and all of us do some hiring, I think we need to keep in mind that, the kids graduating this year and next year, their internship experience is going to be less than we've ever seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's through no fault of their own.
Right.
And so I just, I think there's going to be a little bit of a mental reset there of what you expect. It's going to be interesting to see how those students, if a person graduating right now or in a couple of months
Or
had no
last May.
internship,
Ugh.
is their first job going to be a full-time position? Or as hiring managers, are we going to look at it like, well, let's start them off in an internship?
More an intern, yeah.
And I'm not sure that's the right thing to do.
It's not what they'll want, but it might be the necessary thing to do.
For certain industries, it may
Yeah.
be, but I just, it's going to. I've just been thinking about
Yeah.
it as we're actually beginning, kind of looking at interns for this summer. Just realizing that they're even those that, when I was in college,
Yeah.
you kind of progress through your college years of kind of a part-time internship and then more of a full-time
Same.
internship as you get older. Those part-time internships, even for the younger students in college, they didn't happen in any real way last summer or last
and
year.
those are so important. I reflect on mine in college internships, and I still use skills that I learned in those all the time because
Totally
I
agree.
got to work for ad agencies and I got to write for different places and take photos and do interviews and all of the things I learned.
So like for me,
You know.
after my sophomore year of college, I traveled the country and did basketball camps all over the country.
Oh, wow.
And so like that was a great opportunity for me to see the country, yes, but network and meet a ton of different coaching staffs at the high school and the college level.
Yeah, you got to see a lot of different programs.
And that was as a sophomore, right? I just finished my sophomore year. So like that didn't happen last summer.
Yeah.
And so like those students, they didn't get that opportunity. And then
Yeah.
after my junior year, I was an intern, 40 hours a week with the Minnesota Timberwolves doing draft prep. And
Cool.
that was a great experience. But
Yeah.
again, I look back and I think if this had happened then, there's no way they
There's
would
no
have
extra
let
people in the
anybody
room. There's just
extra
no.
come
Right.
into the office.
Exactly. So you mentioned mental reset. So give us a reset so we're recording this in March 2021. We mentioned the Mavs are playing. Give us a reset of where we sit right now with the Texas Legends.
Where we sit right now is, and look, our staff has had to go through a few resets. This last season ends, frankly, for the Legends, we only missed 2 home games. So we didn't miss very much last season, which was great in the 1920 season. But then as, we get further and further into COVID, there's a realization that at the very best case scenario, our season's going to be starting later than usual. And then there's, the decision gets made that the G League is going to go into a bubble, which, frankly, with us being so fan-centric, so fan-first, is not an ideal scenario for what we do. And so we've been, I hate the word pivot at this point. I despise it.
I know.
But we've been doing a lot of virtual events. We've been doing things to stay connected, which I think is critical, for the business, but also for everyone's mental health during this time.
Yeah, for sure.
And
you guys were good at being connected to the community before all of this. So
well, thank you.
This made it possible for you guys to, because if there were some G League teams, and then of course other types of sports and minor league teams, if they didn't have that base already set up, there's no way to start during this pandemic to then try to connect with your people.
Very hard.
You already had it.
Well, thank you for that. And we take, great pride in that. And frankly, it's something I probably take more pride in than anything else, is that connection with our community and helping out and being a resource for, people to, be better off, and whether that's putting a smile on a kid's face or, more recently, getting water to schools that didn't have any water for their students, and they're going home on weekends after the snowmageddon recently.
Yeah.
Those are more important than anything else. And so, in terms of getting back to that reset now, and for the past few months, our staff's entire focus has been on those connections to the community, and in terms of our season, building towards November of 21. Because that's when, we firmly believe that we'll be back to normal with a full arena, and that would be when the 21 season starts.
Which will be here before we know it.
It certainly will
already
be.
March.
The off season always goes by very quickly, so I'm sure it will.
And that's when you guys are busy behind the scenes getting everything ready.
And frankly,
so you're
it's
probably
busier than it is during the season.
Yeah, because you're just prepping, and there's so much legwork and planning that has to go in.
For those who've been to our games, it's not we're all at a basketball and just play a game.
Right.
There's a little bit more, or a lot of bit more, that goes into it to make sure that all members of the family have a fantastic experience. And that, I'm not going to sit here and say that's easy. That's hard.
There's a lot.
But it's very rewarding kind of hard.
Yeah, I bet. Yes, I remember doing a story on, I think it was with Kyle, on what does the game day look like, kind of the 8 a.m. to midnight snapshot, and it's incredible. That's just game day. But then
that's our easiest time.
And but then also thinking about off season, all of the planning and the prep work to lay the groundwork to get game day to then go off seamlessly. So, but I've also seen things going on right now, like you mentioned kids, and kids can still have exposure to the Texas Legends family with camps, right?
Camps are a go this summer. I guess the disclaimer, and this would be a disclaimer at all times, just normally you wouldn't say it, right? If something comes up or knock on wood, there's no issues, but if we were to have COVID surge again, and we would adjust, right? We adjusted last summer, and we would adjust again.
If nothing else, we are all used to that.
But camps, we have announced them. They are filling up.
What are they called?
Last night, I'm sitting on my phone. We haven't even marketed our camps yet, and 8 registrations came in just last night. And I'm just like, I asked someone on staff, did we do something to prompt this? And they're like, no.
March
we literally
Madness.
haven't even pushed it out there at all.
Well, there's little 10-year-olds like my son sitting on the couch filling out March Madness brackets
Like
and
mine.
probably going, Mom, can you get me into some basketball? And then there's people like me who are group meeting our basketball teams going, hey, everybody go sign up for camps and stuff. What are the camps? I forget what you're calling them.
So our summer camps, they're Legends camps, and we have Legends Academy. Which we actually just recently, we launched during COVID.
Oh, these aren't the same camps?
They are not. So summer camps is summer. Right,
Okay.
those are what we've done for years. It just appears that we've sold them out for a long time, but I haven't seen registrations come in this fast, this early, ever, which I think is a great indicator of folks are ready.
Yeah.
And they know that we're going to take care of them. If things were to change or any circumstances come up, that's been our MO forever. So Legends Academy was really an opportunity. We started off virtual. Giving kids in small groups a chance to do some drill work, some skill work, during the pandemic when you're not supposed to be out at all, right?
Yeah.
And so we started off virtual, and recently we have gone back to very small in-person. And so just kind of easing back into that. And that's once a month is what we've set it up for.
Okay.
Very small group. Whereas camp has certainly skill work, it's got games, it's got contests. But I'll say, our camps, rule number one is that the kids get home safe. And rule number two is that they have fun.
Yeah.
Okay, with Academy, rule number one is they get home safe. Rule number two is that they learn something.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually rule number three for our camps. But with Academy, it's for
Gotcha.
kids who want to get better.
Yeah.
And it's 2 hours on a Saturday once a month. It's
Okay.
I think we've set it up for the second Saturday of each month.
Okay. I didn't realize
And-
the distinction, but
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
they get a report card afterwards
all right.
with each skill broken down. They can progress through our system with our drills.
That's good stuff.
And we even give them take-home stuff. So the idea being it's for, I don't want to say it's for the hardcore basketball player because it can be, but it's not
But it's more
exclusive.
development than the camp.
It's
Yeah.
for the kid who wants to get better year-round. Whereas, and I'm just going to say it, with our camps, yes, we want them to get better. And I tell our camp coaches this every camp. No matter how good a coach they are, they could be John Wooden. They are not going to develop the next LeBron James in this camp.
Right.
What they can do, though, is make that kid have fun,
Right.
love the game of basketball, leave with a smile on their face, which means that they'll go play
Go back.
again
Or
next
keep playing.
week
Yeah, because they're
and the week after, and that's how you get better.
right. Because they're certainly not going to get better if they left there and tell their parents, I'm
Yeah, I don't
done
want
with
to play basketball again.
Yeah, then they're done.
So we want them to learn something so they can go work on it some more next week
Mm-hmm.
and just keep playing, because that's how you truly get better. Is you do it. It's the 10,000 hour
Mm-hmm.
principle, right? You do it for a long time, and you do it with energy and enthusiasm. And we can do that for 1 week at camp. And if they leave with a smile, they enjoyed it, they're much more likely to do it again next week. Which is why that's rule number one is bringing the kids home safe.
Yeah.
And rule number two is that they have fun.
Have fun.
And then that they learn something.
I feel that carries over into during seasons with you guys, because anybody who's been to a Texas Legends games knows that the kids are having fun. Even our kids sit in their seats a lot, but they're still having fun because of because of Byron out there on the mic and things happening and moving, and it's constant, and the music and all the activities, sure, that they can physically do in the arena, but they leave there. Or the people that stick around and like to get as much exposure to players. I don't know if that'll ever happen again.
So before I had kids.
But that's the beauty of like them loving the sport.
Before I had kids, I heard those stories, but you can't appreciate them to their fullest until you're a parent. That's just my own conclusion.
Until you go too and try it.
Yes, but like your kid, son, daughter, having a smile on their face and being happy. As a parent, that's happiness.
That's what it's about.
You're not worried about yourself. You're that chance to put a smile on their face. And so I was at, we had a outdoor, socially distanced, all those things, networking event this past Tuesday morning. We called it Rooftop. It was on top of the parking garage, and watched the sunrise. It was great.
Cool.
But one of our members came up to me, and it made my day. And you forget these things sometimes during the off season. He said that his 3 or 5 year old grandson had come to him last week and said, I'll leave his name out, but when are we going to those basketball games again? And it broke my heart because of COVID, and we weren't able to do that in a full, meaningful capacity this past season. But it also made my day that, like, a child that young, A, remembers,
Yes.
and B, is telling Grandpa, I want to go now.
Go back, yeah.
I'm ready. Like, let's go. I'm waiting. There was a gleam in his eye as he was telling me the story, and that gleam is that is the most important thing, because he knows that his grandson is having a blast and loves it, and he's able to share that moment.
Spend time with them, yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yep.
That's it. And so that made my day.
That's why we love sports too. It's not just the sport and what happens on the court or field. It's the memories and the connections and the being there. Just the whole experience.
Yeah, I'm a basketball guy, and I said I wanted to be a college basketball coach. And as I've gotten older again, there's just so much more meaningful stuff to it than just taking a round ball and putting it through a round hoop.
Yeah.
And, it's the other stuff that is so much more important. You think about, any of your listeners, you think about your best memory of a sports event with mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, son, daughter, whatever it might be. And I would venture to say that you don't remember the score of the game.
Right.
You might remember who won.
Right. Some players and
If it was a championship game, sure,
yeah.
okay. But I would still say, I bet you don't remember the score. But you remember the way that, your family, the experience they had, the smiles they had, the look of awe in a 3-year-old's face. Those things are what you remember. And those things are far more important.
100%. That hits home with me for sure, because we had family traditions, and mine are sitting at Rangers games because we were from a couple hours away, and those are the lasting memories of my dad, is being at those games. Yeah, I remember some of the players on the field, but I don't remember the details. I just remember the traditions and the memories, and that was like our family stuff. So, yep, you're right. And you guys are doing a fantastic job of it at the Texas Legends and keeping Frisco connected. So thank you for that, and keep it up. And Malcolm, thank you for coming in.
It's my pleasure. Kelly, you do a great job. Lifestyle Frisco, you guys do a great job. And anything we can do to help, we're all in.
Thanks. All right. We'll see you soon. And thank you for listening to this episode of Hustle and Pro. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll see you next time.